Bill Villa is my guest right now, and I became aware of him a few years ago when his daughter was killed by a drunk driver. And Bill feels like his daughter did not get true justice and that the courts are corrupt or maybe cronyism, etc., along with some stuff with the media. And his story interested me. He's a polarizing guy. A lot of people have warned me not to have him on the show. But I did think that he deserved his day on the air. And he might be able to provide us with a service because anybody who's ever been, whether it's been in court because you're fighting over your kids in a custody battle, or whether it's some other incident, my dad was assaulted, and you start thinking it's stacked against the victim. And we cover all kinds of stuff on the show, congressional stuff and what they're doing in Washington and what they're doing here. But we don't cover any of the court stuff. So I thought he might be able to provide us some insight and some ongoing updates, if this works out, as to how things are going. Bill, long intro there, but good morning.
Bobby, good morning, and thank you very much for having me on. I've been waiting 7 years to tell my story.
Yeah, I know that you reached out to me, I'm going to guess a couple of years ago, and eventually you got here, but I know you've been trying to tell your story longer than that with other media, and they haven't really let you. And, of course, a lot of people have painted you in one way or another. I figure I'll let the public decide for themselves and let your words and the way you're acting and all speak for itself.
That's perfect. I'll report the facts. Let your viewers decide.
And listeners. So give folks who are unaware the background of what has driven you so much to be such an advocate about the court systems. It's all started, I'm presuming, is with the death of your daughter in this accident.
The killing of my daughter, Sheena.
Yeah.
Yes, and we did get justice. I would consider it kind of a table scrap of justice, and we had to fight, I think, way too hard to get it. I would have preferred to spend that time grieving the loss of my firstborn and only daughter. But right out of the gate, I had to be vigilant and assertive and all over it, and have eyes in the back of my head. And it's continued up until the present. I mean, there are still court cases, court proceedings having to do with Sheena's death that have taken place as recently as 2012. Restitution hearings, things like that.
Yeah, and the victim ends up having to fight so hard, or the victim's survivors, or in this case her father, her mother. So Sheena was. You can give me more of the background. What happened? Paint a picture, and then let's take it step by step, and we'll go. Because one of the things I feel that you've told me in the conversations we had is that this continues to be an ongoing problem where the victims have to fight so hard.
They do. After going through what I continue to go through with Sheena's case for the last 7 years, I've been keeping my eye on
other cases. And you feel, by the way, the county's way too easy, in the county in particular.
Lehigh County,
on DUIs.
Not just DUIs, but also DUI homicide.
Okay.
Yeah.
So your daughter killed by a drunk. Go ahead. So it's one night. Tell me what happened. Tell the listeners who have forgotten or are new to the area, don't know your background.
Sure. No, I love talking about Sheena. Sheena was my firstborn, my only daughter. She was born in 1981. She was a dancer from the time she was 6, 7 years old. She knew that's what she wanted to do. And that's what she ended up doing in life.
As a dance instructor, was she not?
She was, and she had a dance scholarship to the University of the Arts in Philadelphia, and taught dance at Steps in Time in Allentown, and also at Expression of Dance in Nazareth for 6 seasons. And she was, and still is, beloved. I don't think a week goes by that I don't get a Facebook message or an email from one of her former students or their parents telling me that, we still have Sheena's picture up on the mirror, and, she will never be forgotten.
So she's coming home one night.
It was her 25th birthday. She spent most of the day with me, which I'll be forever grateful for, and had dinner with us and, took a little nap on the sofa, and then, went out. It was her birthday, her 25th birthday. She was going to meet up with friends. And I walked her out to her car, and the last thing she said to me was, I love you too, Daddy. And that was the last time I saw her alive. I got a phone call around 4 in the morning from Sheena's mother, and it's that phone call every parent dreads getting. And she said, Sheena's at Lehigh Valley Hospital. There's been a crash, and it doesn't look good. And I got up, got dressed, got in the car, drove to the hospital, and I was crying so hard I put the windshield wipers on. And I got to Lehigh Valley Hospital. It was about 4:15 a.m., I guess. And I went to the main desk, I guess hoping maybe she was in a room recuperating.
But she was over in the emergency room.
She was in the ER, yeah. And so I went over there. And my former brother-in-law, who was a Salisbury policeman, he had heard this on the police radio and had called his wife, who called her sister, Sheena's mom, Mike Cochran, my former brother-in-law, great guy, magistrate now, and I know he'll be terrific. He has just the perfect demeanor for that kind of job. But he was standing sentry outside the ER, and I'll never forget that. So I went in, and a doctor grabbed me pretty quickly and took me off into a little room, and I said, is she going to be okay? And he said, no.
Wow, that quickly.
Yeah.
And she sustained severe injuries.
Really severe. Both her arms were broken. One of her legs was broken. There was a massive stomach wound. And the upper left part of her head was crushed in. And they said, give us about 45 minutes to clean her up and you can see her. She was in the neurotrauma unit at Lehigh Valley Hospital on life support, unable to breathe on her own. She needed a machine for her heart.
What had happened was she took the brunt of this accident in this drunk driving. Homicide, I guess. I hate to call it an accident, but...
Yeah, I don't call it an accident because when you mix the things that were put together here, what happens isn't an accident. It's really inevitable. Sheena was front seat passenger in a car that was driven by an acquaintance of hers, Robert Labar, and he had a .24 blood alcohol content. A guy Sheena was dating was in the back seat, and Sheena, it was her birthday, she just wanted to ride home, and apparently the driver wanted them to stay out, is what I was told. But the empirical facts of the crash are these. It took place on Parkway Boulevard. That's the stretch of road between Cedar Crest Boulevard and Ott Street.
Right by the Rose Garden.
Right by the Rose Garden.
We only have about 2 minutes. So.
Okay. The policeman, Officer Kennedy, who did the crash reconstruction, told me that the vehicle hit the tree at a minimum speed of 85 miles an hour on a 35-mile-an-hour zoned residential
very short stretch
street.
of road, yeah.
The vehicle hit the tree airborne. The tree was on the other side of the road, and the point of impact was the roof right over Sheena's head. There were airbags in the car, but of course there's none over your head. So she was rendered brain dead pretty much on impact.
She died, and you feel you thought it was a nightmare with her passing. And it's more vivid than what we probably have time to get into here of what you went through that night, and I don't want to cut you off from that story, but you feel like, and I'm hearing your story. If anybody from the Lehigh County District Attorney's Office wants to refute it or come on, they're certainly welcome to.
Yeah, there's a room right here, Jim. There's a mic right here.
So I just want here's the thing. I don't know. I'm giving you your piece and your say. I don't want to take a side on this, but you do have a lot to say about how, and people can relate to, how you feel as the victim. You ended up having to be the one vigilant, the one pressing for things, the one that was always on guard. You expect the DA or we're going to get him.
Well, I wanted the guy who killed my daughter charged with the crime he committed against her. And one could make an excellent case that the crime that was committed against Sheena was third-degree murder, and there's Pennsylvania precedent for it.
Mm-hmm. And we'll get into that. You know what? I wasn't sure how long this was going to take. We'll have you on tomorrow, but you feel that I'm assuming who dropped the ball here? Do you feel
they didn't drop the ball? They hid the ball.
Really?
Yeah.
You feel that who's they?
Lehigh County District Attorney Jim Martin and the Morning Call. You have to remember, Robert Labar's father is Don Labar, who's a partner in the juggernaut law firm Gross McGinley. One of the Gross McGinley's clients is the Morning Call. When District Attorney Martin needs legal services, of all the law firms in town he could call, he generally calls Gross McGinley.
Oh.
Mal Gross, the principal of Gross McGinley, a quote Democrat, is one of Jim Martin's major fundraisers.
All right,
Republican.
we'll have to pick it up there. This
Okay.
got to the good stuff just at the end.
Good start, huh?
All right, we'll see Bill Villa tomorrow.